We are back. It's Monday, and we are back where we belong as our Mastermind, Only Connect, and University Challenge. It's been a few weeks since we've been live, but boy, is it good to be back with our favourite shows on the right day of the week. We've got a great show for you today. We've got two fantastic guests joining us. We have the newly crowned 2022 Brain of Britain, and if you don't want to know who that is, then perhaps you should wait until you've listened to it to watch the rest of this show. And we've got Sangeetha from Mastermind, who you also might remember from Only Connect last season. So that's great. Now, I am determined to be much more disciplined in how we have this show and rattle through it and try and keep us nice and lean. So if I start rambling like I am now, then put something in the chat to tell me that I'm rambling. So you can, I should be putting the banner across now. Put your comments and questions in the chat. But there's something new we're trying for the first time, which is vote for your Only Connect question of the night. There is a link in the description to this video, and you can go in and choose for round 1 and round 2, and then combined wall and missing vowels, which you thought were the best questions tonight. And when we get to Only Connect, we will talk about those. So that is what is coming up. Before we get going, just want to say thank you to our Patreon members who support this channel and help keep us going. Okay, so if you want to be a patron, join in with some of our quizzing. Last week, we did a whole load of Richard Osman House of Games quizzing. So if you want to join in with that, then get on our Patreon group. But now, without any further ado, I'm going to welcome on Sarah and Sangeetha. And there we are. Hello, both.
Hello, Gareth. Hi,
Hello.
Sangeetha.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Gareth.
You have both been on the show before, so you kind of know what to expect. But you're both on in a different capacity from normal. Sarah, you are the 2022 Brain of Britain. Congratulations. Woo. I should have an applause little thing. Shouldn't I really? I mean, today must have been a bit of a whirlwind for you, Sarah. I mean, how long ago was it that you filmed that final?
It's only about 3 weeks ago, so it's not quite the same as sort of some of the TV shows. It's not quite as much of a lead time, but it has been quite difficult keeping it secret, particularly with the OQL buzzer quiz over the weekend. And I was surprised. I managed to keep it completely secret from anybody who didn't already know. So I was quite pleased with that.
Well done. You did keep your mouth and your lips tightly zipped. So and you must have been kind of bursting. If only that buzzer quiz had fallen the week after, you could have done all the congratulations in one go. But absolutely tremendous to see you at the weekend, and absolutely tremendous for your win. Sangeetha, we will get on to Mastermind in due course, but it was wonderful to see you again on Mastermind after your Only Connect appearance last year. Has anything changed since your Only Connect appearance? What did Only Connect give you that spur to go on Mastermind?
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a great experience, as I think anybody who's been on Only Connect knows. So it definitely it encouraged me to go on Mastermind and try my hand at that without my teammates this time.
Well, absolutely wonderful that you did. First time is just for reconnaissance, as I always say. So it was a good showing. We'll get onto that in a moment, but we'll start with Sarah. Sarah, you've had quite the year in terms of quizzing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mastermind Grand Final last year, Counterpoint Grand Final last year, and Brain of Britain this year. You don't do anything by half measures, do you?
It would seem not. Yes, so it's it has been quite a whirlwind, and I seem to be doing nothing else but quizzing. But but it was they've all been wonderful to be part of, and it's just been a great experience all round. I think maybe slightly less pressure with the radio ones than the TV ones. I think with Mastermind, because you're learning the specialist subjects, so I spent about 6 months just studying different specialist subjects. It was nice just to be able to do general knowledge. So I think they were perhaps more fun, I think, the two radio ones. But yeah, it's just been a great experience from beginning to end.
There's a comment in the question from question in the comments. God, I'm all mixed up. See, I'm out of practice with this now. Catherine is asking how you build yourself back up after a run of quizzing performances. I mean, Catherine's saying about bad performances. Yours not so much bad, Sarah, but you know, you got so close twice. You know, what was it that made you think I'm going to go for another one of these?
I was actually encouraged to apply for Brain of Britain, and I thought about, well, maybe I'll give it another year. But actually, the thing which actually spurred me on to do it, I had a few health issues this year, and it was just something to sort of prove that I was still me while I was doing it. So I thought, well, yeah, I'll have a go. I mean, what's the worst that can happen is I don't do very well. So so it's been a bit of a constant throughout a sort of fairly strange year. So I'm not sure whether I would have done it straight away had that not been the case, but I'm glad I did now.
Did you find that it actually was a helpful diversion to kind of bury yourself in something else during this year?
Absolutely. I mean, not just the sort of BBC quizzes, but just quiz in general has been a real way of sort of keeping my brain active and keeping connected with people. So it has been really great. So it has been a very welcome distraction.
Yeah. Sangeetha, just quickly come to you. Your appearances on Only Connect have made you quite recognizable. A number of people on Twitter tonight were saying, have we seen her somewhere before? Has the experience of being on Only Connect, you know, have you been recognized elsewhere? Has this been something that kind of has elevated you to local celebrity status?
Not quite recognizable in the streets, but when I've been we've actually had a few weddings, you know, friends' weddings we've gone to, and obviously, you know, people's parents, you know, friends' parents or other people's families will go, oh, we saw you on Only Connect, which is always really lovely, because obviously I'll be going with Fergus usually, so it'll be lovely to say, like, we've seen most of the team now, that's 2/3 of the team. But so a little bit, but obviously it's not quite the local celebrity that's not really what we're going for. It's just been nice, to be honest, to, like you said, to know that people are watching when you see it on Twitter, and know that everyone is kind of watching year on year and going, oh yeah, that's the person from last year. That face looks familiar. That's just really lovely.
And it's nice to get a really positive reaction as well. Now, one thing you told me before we came on was that you are very, very pregnant right now.
Yes.
As in, you know,
yes.
We've got the car outside waiting, engine on, just in case you have to make a dash.
Yes. I'm due on Wednesday, so it literally could be at any point. Yes. And so it was lovely to also see myself on Only Connect. You know, it was filmed earlier this year, and knowing that I was just a little bit along the journey, and now I thought I might be watching with the baby, but no. The baby's
so a little bit further along the journey tonight, and next time we see you on the show, we expect there to be a little Navaratnam-Blair in your arms, so that we can all coo over it. Now, in terms of preparing for the shows you were on, Sarah, Brain of Britain, there are kind of two aspects to it. One is the general knowledge, obviously, quizzing, and then the other is the format of it. What preparation did you do to try and give yourself a good or as good a possible chance on that particular show?
I mean, mainly just doing as many questions as possible. gave me a hint of reading through the Brain of Britain book, going through that, because occasionally things come up, and there were a couple which did come up over the course of the series again, including one in the final, the Dalek question. Me and my husband Noel have been having a bit of debate about the Daleks the night before. So that was really good preparation. But just doing as many quizzes as possible, because if you get things wrong once, twice, 3 times even, you're likely to get them the next time. But just trying to get into the lateral. So there's quite a bit of lateral thinking in some of the questions as well. There's things that maybe you couldn't actually know, but you have to be able to work out. So it's trying to get into that mindset, really.
You came across very, very cool and calm during the show today. Is that how it felt?
Oh. I don't think I was that cool and calm, to be honest, but it was, I must admit, it was so close. I just didn't know what the score was. At the end of that last round, I had no idea who had won. I was expecting a tiebreaker, absolutely at best. I was absolutely astonished when the scores were read out, particularly as my last 5 questions. The last 2 were educated guesses, very much. Having never seen the Thomas the Tank Engine, it was essentially one of 2 colours and went the right way, fortunately. So it all sort of just fell right.
on such little things, it hinges.
Absolutely.
And you were against phenomenal opposition. This was, I believe, the first ever all-female final in the 69-year history of Brain of Britain. So you had Isabel Heward, who's done so many TV shows, it's crazy, but Mastermind champion. You had Marianne Fairthorne, Mastermind champion. You had Emma Laslett, Mastermind runner-up, I believe, did brilliantly on Only Connect. Phenomenal players. Did that in any sense kind of, I don't know, have any effect on you, going into that final?
I think I knew that I had to be quick on the buzzer. I mean, obviously they policed the buzzers quite thoroughly, so you can't buzz in early. But I knew I had to be as quick as I could be to have any chance of beating the others. So I know, having quizzed against Isabel in Counterpoint, how quick she was on the buzzer, and I knew the other 2 would be as well. So it's just making sure you're ready for anything that sort of gets dropped. And I must admit, by the end of the first round, I had almost given up hope. But yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a thrilling final. Anybody who hasn't listened to it yet, we won't quite spoil the denouement, except that it was just about as tight as you could possibly get in something like Brain of Britain. It was absolutely thrilling to listen to, and you're kind of doing those mental calculations. I was holding my breath when Sarah answered that last one, says Pam. I mean, it was just, you were a long way behind, really.
Very long way behind.
So it was quite spectacular. And a really good win. Is there anything from that kind of whole 3 episodes that you filmed that kind of, a sliding doors moment for you? Maybe it came in the final, but were there moments where it might not have happened?
There were a few. There was, in the final, the Thomas Tank Engine one. There was Chesil Beach as well, which I just couldn't drag from my head. I was not thinking along that at all. But during the semi-final, when I was up against some other great quizzes, Jamie Hall, Ned Pendleton, there was a moment where I had to give the name of a Manchester dramatist, which was Jack Rosenthal. Now, I was getting mixed up with Tom Stoppard, so I gave the answer Tom Rosenthal, which is particularly annoying as my office opens out onto Jack Rosenthal Street. But, and then that bonus got picked up, and I thought I've probably blown it here. Fortunately, that didn't happen. And then again, when I just didn't do particularly well in the first 2 rounds of Brain of Britain, I mean, up against such fantastic opponents, it's just like I thought I just can't drop these things. But as I say, fortunately, it balanced out. Fortunately for me, and commiserations to the other 3, because
I mean, it did do, and it was a wonderful and a very popular win. I mean, to be fair, I think everybody on that show is popular within the quiz community. But I think you know, in the context of the year, you've had particularly popular win, and well deserved. It was a fantastic run. I think you got nominated Quizzer of the Week, both first round and semi-final, and I think you ended up winning those. And then you will be nominated, of course, this week for your win. So tremendous. But what's next? When you've conquered that, is this going to be like another shot at Mastermind, or what do you think?
I think I might wait for Mastermind a little bit. I think sort of because it was such hard work. I think maybe just try and build up my general knowledge. That was the other thing actually. Because I'm quite new to quizzing. Sort of about almost 3 years now, so less new than I was. But I found I improved quite quickly at the beginning, and then Mastermind sort of put that on hold because I was concentrating on the specialist subjects. So I think I'd like to just try and sort of improve general knowledge. I think for a while. I'm doing. I've recorded another TV show, which should be on soonish. So I might try and do another few of those, I think. So.
Well, we look forward to those. That's tremendous. Now, you mentioned Mastermind and all the prep that's involved in that. We'll come to you, Sangeetha. Before we do, Jamie says, if your waters break during the show, you might need to put Gareth as a middle name. Just saying.
I'll consider it. We'll take it into consideration. Absolutely.
I'll consider it. That is what's known in the trade as punting it into the long grass, very politely. But
you never know. You never know.
Now, you went from a team competition in Only Connect to Mastermind individual competition. As Sarah said, a lot of preparation. We heard from Alison, the winner. She did 597 flashcards. How did you prepare for your Mastermind?
Not flashcards, but yes, it was a lot of work. I actually was very inspired by listening to Mastermind contestants on QUIZZY Monday Live from last year, and what they were doing. So I read a ton of books about Elizabeth. I watched documentaries. There's a lot of great YouTube channels about history, especially around Tudor history, that I watched lots of videos on. And it was really about, there was some learning and there was some just trying to familiarize myself with the information constantly. So there was a bit of that. I went to a few, I went to the Palace in Greenwich, and I went to try to get into some places that Elizabeth had been. So again, just really embedding all that information in. It was a lot of work, like Sarah says. I think anybody who has done Mastermind knows it's, there are some, you have to be quite diligent at it. And the last week, we had a date scheduled, and then because of various things, it got pushed just by a few days, I think, even almost a week. And that gave me a bit of a drive to just push, and I just really bunkered down then. I used a lot of, it wasn't flashcards, but I did do a lot of note taking, and it threw me back to revising for A-level history, which was the last time I did history. But it was it was quite reminiscent of that. But it was really fun because of that, because I just really got to get into the subject. And it was a lot of work, very different from Only Connect revision, very different from just being able to watch Only Connect episodes, which was really most of my revision last time.
Sarah, how did you find it possible to put in all that work that we just heard from Sangeetha and not lose your love of the subject you're studying?
I think you have to pick subjects which you really like. I mean, Rocky Horror, I was actually quite surprised when the producers actually picked that one. But it's a film I can watch on repeat, and have done many times over and over again. So it was interesting doing that. But finding out about the history of it was great as well. Pulp, again, I loved learning. Just listening to all of the tracks, although I did have a break from them for about a year. I didn't listen to any pop for a year, although I'm going to see them twice next year now, so I've bought some tickets for the reunion, so that'll be first. The Barbara Heathers is maybe a bit trickier because it's not maybe so much part of my sort of everyday life, so that was maybe a bit more of an effort, but it was still very interesting, I think.
Excellent. Sangeetha, Elizabeth I, biographies are good because it starts when somebody's born and it ends when somebody dies. But she lived a long time and did a shed load of stuff. We watching you back there, you were getting some really good answers, but you missed a few. Do you think the scope of it was, in hindsight, too big, or was it just okay? Next time, if I was to do that, I would do it slightly differently to get all of those little peripheral ones that you missed.
Yeah, I think the scope was appropriate. The ones I missed made complete sense as questions, and you're just kind of kick yourself. You're like, I knew quite most of them. I knew that. I just missed which of Anjou it was or which Pope it was, and it was just you knew that you hadn't quite done the last bit of revision that would have really helped. So I think it kind of made sense. I think biography is great for that reason as well. And initially, I had thought about various TV shows and realistically thinking back, if I had to rewatch 7 seasons of Gilmore Girls, which was maybe one of my suggested subjects, it would have taken forever, whereas at least there was a beginning and the end. She just did have a lot going on in her life, and when you look at religion, foreign policy, domestic things, her personal life, it was very broad, and that did make it hard, but I think
there's just so much detail, isn't there? That's the thing. In a life like that, so many people that intersect with her. I don't know how many popes there would have been during her lifetime that there would have been some kind of antagonism with or whatever, but so many details like that to try and in that split second moment in the black chair to be able to just sift the right one. So yeah, I mean, it was a good subject though, I have to say.
It's very interesting, I found it.
And perhaps more play alongable than some of the others tonight. Well, certainly Dear Evan Hansen, because if you haven't seen the film and show, then you ain't getting that. I mean, I have, but still only got a few. That was a classic case of very narrow going very deep, I felt. But Anna Lister was a good subject. David Lynch, good subject. At halfway, sitting second, how were you feeling?
I was feeling good. I knew that I had done myself proud, and that I also did feel a sense of relief with seeing how strong Alison was. I thought, okay, she's probably gonna knock it out. I just have to maybe maintain where I am. And general knowledge, I did okay at the general knowledge too, but I knew that wouldn't be. I figured I would be around where I was. So I kind of felt that sense of relief that I probably wouldn't end up battling with her for the end, because she really was on fire for Anne Lister, and I knew you could tell that it was going to be similar in the next round. So I felt it was good.
Yeah. So overall, you're happy with the performance, and it was a good performance. Come second in Mastermind on your first attempt. That's good. Would you have settled for that if you'd have been offered that, before you even got in the black chair? It's like, second by a decent margin.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I would love to. Yeah, absolutely, would love to have been in a position where I could have got my special subject even, much stronger, and general knowledge and came first one day. But for my first time, like you said, I'm really pleased with how it went.
Brilliant. Yeah. Sarah, I suppose it might be different now, but when you were going for some of the other shows, did you have an idea in mind of what you thought was kind of, what would be acceptable for you to kind of think, actually, I can live with that. I'm happy with that.
In terms of the specialist,
in terms of the result, first round, good showing,
Yeah, I mean, again, because I've not really done much of this, it's like, well, I'll have a go at this. A few people said, well, you should try this. First, I was surprised to get on the show, and then was absolutely delighted to get to the second round, and then very nearly didn't get to the final. So I had a very close tiebreak. But I mean, I was just happy to be on the show, and I thought, well, I'll see what this is like. Was quite astonished to actually get as far as I did.
Well, I mean, it's always good to kind of exceed expectations. In the chat, there's been all sorts of stuff going on, but Gerard, of course, has come up with a pun. Monarchs are not meant to be subjects. And unfortunately, Claire is humouring him. So, it's...
I enjoyed that too, Gerard.
But Gerard makes a good point. I try not to go in with any expectations. Any win is a bonus. I think that's a good attitude. I think it's a doubly good attitude when there's money at stake. I think a lot of people pile pressure on themselves when there's money at stake. Neither of you appear to have gone down that route yet, but we will see. There is still time. Now, before we crack on, I just want to recap on the Quizzer of the Week winners from last week. Last week's Quizzer of the Week was Andrew Fraser for his full house in the International Culture Challenge. Second was Emma Laslett for her Brain of Britain semi-final. And third was Pat Gibson for his Grand Prix win. Team of the Week was the Martial Artisan. Second was Pericardium, winners of OQL Division 1. And third was Scrummagers. Well done to all of them. And if you want to nominate somebody or a team for Quizzer of the Week or Team of the Week, you can go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations, and you can submit that by 5 o'clock on every Monday, GMT, and you'll have a chance of seeing your nominees up for the vote. So, we are back. I still have some gremlins in the tech, but... thankfully, I think I might be getting away with it. Now, the most recent video released today that we've put out is a review of this book, Trevor Montague's A to Z of Almost Everything. It is 1,200 pages. If you want to see what I think about it and whether it's worth your money, then check out the video that's gone live today on All Things Quiz. And I'll pass it over to Valerie, because otherwise it's going to kill my arm if I sit with it for the next 20 minutes or so. So, yes. Both of you then, in varying degrees, have had a good day. Sarah, one of the best days, I guess.
It's been pretty good.
And Sangeetha, you've had a good day, and you've got another very good day coming up soon. So we're really looking forward to hearing about young Gareth when he enters the world. But yes, so. Any other final thoughts or final comments about either of your shows today? Anything else that you kind of take from it or remember from it?
It was just sort of, as I've gone through Counterpoint and then through Brain of Britain, there's been sort of increasing audience, which has been nice. So we started off with Counterpoint, the heats. There was nobody there except for the other contestants. And then we had a limited audience for Counterpoint final. And it's just been more and more people. And that's been really nice. It sort of brought something different to the day. It meant I could bring some friends along for the final as well, which was great fun. But just the whole atmosphere of the radio shows has been great, and I'd recommend them to anybody. I really would. I mean, Mastermind as well, but certainly any of the BBC shows have been really fun.
Is there a real kind of difference as a contestant in the experience of being on radio, apart from the fact you don't have to be made up and all that? But is it kind of a different feel, a different experience?
Yes, it is. I think because not having the cameras there does really make a difference. It just seems a little bit more informal. I remember in the Counterpoint final, we had me, Isabel, and Frankie had to be prompted to sit down because we were just chatting on the stage, which you wouldn't be able to do in the studio at Mastermind. So I think it is a little bit more informal, I think.
Excellent. And Sangeetha, you did Only Connect, where there's nobody in the studio pretty much, apart from the contestants and Victoria. But Mastermind, I'm now doubting myself. There is an audience, isn't there, back again?
Not at the moment.
No, not at the
might
moment,
be post-COVID situation. But also nobody about. Which is very, it has its pros and cons, I suppose. It would have been nice to have an audience of people. I had a lot of questions from people, which probably everyone here knows, but obviously the music is actually also playing. Everyone always says, "Oh, the music makes me feel really tense." Like, yes, the music does make you feel quite tense in the studio because you're.
See, were you surprised that the music actually happens in real time in the studio?
Yeah,
That terrified me.
and all the lighting as well.
Yeah.
Just being suddenly spotlighted. Oh, yes, that's
It
me.
just suddenly feels very real at that point.
Yeah, feel like you've gone at the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in some ways those experiences are quite similar in those ways, but maybe it's a little bit more formal in Mastermind than it was in Only Connect, doing it in person. Yeah.
And in both of those shows, presumably, they just literally go through pretty much as if you're watching it on TV or listening to it on the radio. You don't have, Only Connect. You've got all this kind of, okay, you've got to move to a different part of the set, or you've got to go offset and all that. But these ones, they kind of have a momentum and take you through the show. Did it feel like it, Sarah? It was over in a flash when you were recording Counterpoint. Not Counterpoint, sorry. Great Britain.
Yes, it did. It is done in pretty much real time with the small cuts. But it just seemed to happen very quickly.
And same for you, Sangeetha, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I think Only Connect definitely almost felt like it was run through, and in Mastermind a couple of times people queried some of their questions that you can do, and they obviously cut it together very nicely to make sure it all was still within the time. So little bit of TV magic there.
Excellent. Well, just to remind people that we've got a vote going on for the Only Connect question of the night. The link is in the description below. At the moment, we have had a monstrously, fantastically huge 6 votes. So if you want to have an influence on this poll of polls, and this is an experiment, it might be a one-off at this rate, but this experiment, tell us what you think the best questions were in Only Connect. Paste that link from our description below into your browser, and then we will get onto that in a moment. Now, I'm just going to run through the latest What is the Question update. Last week's What is the Question winner was Michael Foroshek. What a Michael. The answer was spice, and his question was, as a clever joke, the official Twitter account of KFC follows only 11 people, 6 men that are all called Herb, and which specific group of 5 girls. Well done, Michael. This week's answer in need of a question is jungle, and you can now vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQjungle. Voting is open till Wednesday when we release the finalists. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Twitter so that you can see the word that gets released on Sunday and take part. So there you go. What is the question? Every Sunday morning, we release a new answer in need of a question on Facebook and Twitter. Send in your questions. Cheesy, devious, corny, whatever you want. Send them in. Clever. Some very clever ones at times. Send them in, and we put them to a vote, and then we try and find the winner from Wednesday onwards. So join in with that game. That's one of the things we do. We also do lunchtime quiz time every day between 12 and 2 on Facebook and Twitter. Now, Only Connect. Did either of you watch Only Connect tonight? We didn't have a chance before we started to run through that.
Yes,
Samantha.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let me see by the magic of my plea whether anybody listened and put in a vote. No. So let me share the presentation and we can see what people have voted. Here we go. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but the best question of round 1 looks like it was the Christian virtues one, the picture round. What did we think of that one, Sangeetha, Sarah?
I thought it was a really good question to have in there. It's a shame that it wasn't got, but it was a great question, and it was good to have a different set of faces, I think.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, it was a really nice question to have. And I actually thought all the questions that round were really fun. And especially in the fuss to have people getting boxing and chess and then to have chess boxing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Great.
Was fun.
And I noticed also, I quite particularly like the music question. And the fact that Lady Marmalade, the song, came up again in University Challenge later in the evening. A little bit of a nice coincidence there.
Yeah, these things do happen. I really liked like you two the picture round, and in fact, like our huge selection of voters, because the problem I had with it, and probably a little bit like Sarah was just alluding to, is I knew the first two people, Prue Leith and Hope Powell. I didn't have a clue who the other two were, which generally are the ones where you think it's going to be a giveaway, and I think for me that was maybe just they pick people that are in a blind spot for me, but I would have put Prue Leith probably later because she's much better known. But anyway, I did think that was a great question. Fictional and real life firsts is currently second in the vote, and chess boxing is third. Chess boxing was a little bit tricksy, wasn't it? That
was interesting. The two teams got both halves of it, but nobody actually put it together. I thought
yeah, I thought that was nice. Alex has apologized for the chess boxing question on Twitter. That'd be Alex McMillan, who has been on this show. Well done, Alex. We will give you kudos later on that. Gerard is also saying in the chat, where was that vote for best question? I always need spoon feeding these things. If you look in the description below the video, where it says, hey, Gareth will be talking to Sarah and Sangeetha, it's down there, as are links to the other votes that we have for Quizzer and Team of the Week and for what is the question. So yes, so they were good. So we got three that are really leading the way there. And if we look at round two, that is, I'm surprised by that one. We've got superheroes. Actually, I'm not that surprised by tub thumping, to be fair. Tub thumping for me felt like quite a fairly clear and obvious one, but they struggled with it to a degree, the team that had it. What did you think of those two questions?
Yeah, when I clicked for the tub thumping question, I was very pleased because it felt really obvious once you'd seen it. It took me a second, but the superheroes by Animal Legs was, I thought, a really, really fun question, and just kind of exemplifies what the kind of fun Only Connect type questions. You just can't have that in a normal general knowledge.
The superheroes legs one, that was my favourite one. I thought that was a really, really clever question. Really like that.
Yeah, I think it's possibly the most clever one of the night. I mean, I think the Borders one, I think that was kind of, once you spot it, okay, you can work it out. It's a general knowledge-y one, but the superheroes one, it's lots of lateral thinking that has and kind of leaps from one thing to another to get that. And also knowing who Selena Kyle and Scott Lang are is quite always necessary. Claire saying, love superhero question, got it on Clue 2. It was a good one. Now, Sangeetha, before we move on, what are your feelings watching this series and the teams on this series? Is there any kind of sense of resentment that they're in your place, playing on your turf?
Not resentment, but definitely jealousy. There's a reason we went for Only Connect, the first time we tried to get into quizzing, and it's just one of my favorite shows ever. So we sit down and watch it, and I always just say to fans, I want to do it. I want to do it again. So not resentment. I'm so pleased with them because it's so much fun, and you can see people having fun doing it. So that's so nice as well. I just wish I was there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been having that feeling since series 11. Yes. So I know what it's like. Every year I kind of look on wistfully at the next generation, but I think it's been a really good series so far with some great teams. Sarah, when you look back at Mastermind, are you kind of thinking, I know what they're going through right now, I know what they're feeling, there but for the grace of God, you thinking all these things, or are you able to enjoy it just as a viewer now?
I think I'm enjoying it as a viewer this time. Trying to get more of the general knowledge questions, I think. But there is a little bit of Oh, yes, it is a stressful thing, but yeah, I'm enjoying the series actually.
Yeah, it's good. There's been some tremendous performances. It's a shame we weren't broadcasting when Michael McPartland had his stupendous 31 the other week, but I'm sure we'll be catching up with Michael before too long. Now I want to go back to this screen share thing and see if I could do this again. We have had another vote, so this is big news, and it has changed the combination of the walls and the missing vowels. So let's go over to the studio and see what the voting looks like now. So your best other OC question, we've got with 14% wall 1, 28.6% authors and comedy characters, and 57.1% nicknames of women's football teams. How did we feel about the walls tonight? For me, wall 2 felt very difficult. Again, everything is very subjective, isn't it? But, for me, it felt very difficult.
Yeah, it definitely seemed much more difficult than the first one. I think there was more specialist knowledge, probably. Yeah, it just seemed a bit trickier.
Yeah, I found the same actually. I think I suppose different walls do suited to different people, but I did think wall 2 was quite hard.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked choral even song. Yeah, I could have got there. Coronation, not in a month of Sundays. The children's games thing, there were too many red herrings. Mice was gettable. I mean, that was tricky. Mind you, the other one gave me one of the highlights of the night when somebody was saying, "Oh, they're all from Twilight," or "Do you think they're all from Twilight?" And the cat said, "I couldn't possibly tell you that." And it was just the indignant way I thought was absolutely marvelous. But the other groups, comics, followed by Pool, Zeus's transformations, Twilight probably being for me the tricky one. Again, if you haven't seen the films, you're not going to be getting them. But yeah, so that they were. So what was war? The nicknames of women's football teams. Oops, let's stop sharing. Now it's gone black. So that is the winner of all of the kind of the missing vowels ones. Do you like the kind of standard ones, like general knowledge ones like that, as opposed to the authors merging with comedy characters? How do those two kind of stack up in your thinking?
So I quite like the ones where it's a bit of a puzzle, mainly because I mean I've not been on any Connects, but I've done the connections online, and I'm not very good at the buzzer round. So if it's one you actually have to think about, so it's more thinking and less reaction time, I like those.
Yeah, I think it makes a bit quite interesting as well. It's nice to have a mix, I think. But I thought I thought that today's vowel rounds were really hard. Much harder than I'm used to, I think. Yeah. And vowel
in general, a bit of a step up, it felt. I mean, these were 2 first round winners. It did feel like there was a kind in most of the rounds, a kind of edge forwards, in difficulty. The great thing is we're going to see both teams again, because it's really hard to get knocked out of Only Connect initially. So the Gillies are through. The More Porkians we'll see again. They're both lovely teams. Both been on the show. The reason why they're not here tonight is that everybody in this series seems to have fallen in love with each other. Not literally, but they've become really great friends. These 2 teams now are a merged pub QUIZZY team, and they're having a watch party together tonight. So if by any chance they're watching, then hi, whether live or a catch up. But I think this series everybody seems to have really, really bonded, and I think that makes for a great show and a great watch. So now I'm getting heckled here by Pam. Put the vote on Twitter separately next time, please. I could do that, Pam. I could do that if it wasn't very late in the day. I will take that under advisement, and maybe we can get double figures next time for real statistical significance. So before we move on to just chat about champagne moment of the night, your favorite, or the day, your favorite moments, we'll just acknowledge that there was a really, really good University Challenge match tonight between Newnham and Courtauld. I think, I don't know, it's one of these flukes of happenstance. We had an all-female final in Brain of Britain. We had a majority female episode of the University Challenge, and first and second in Mastermind were women. So this really is a fantastic day for female quizzes and University Challenge. It was just absolutely stonkingly good. Newnham came back, didn't quite make it, but have qualified for the repechage of high-scoring losers. You said you watched it earlier, Sangeetha. Anything jump out at you from the show tonight?
Nothing I can think of. I think they were just very well matched. I think they did a really good job, and it was good to see. Yeah, it was good to see that once they got in their starters for tens, that they were able to kind of mop up a lot of the questions pretty well. It's always frustrating watching it because you just have different things that just seem so obvious to you, and then they come up with a stonk of an answer for something you've never heard of, and that's when you really realize, that the kind of knowledge that it takes, especially the teamwork. But no, so nothing in particular. But it was just nice they did a really good job. It was very impressive.
Yeah, I'd agree. Did you catch it, Sarah?
Yes, I did, and just thought it was consistently really good throughout. Good breadth of knowledge. Seemed to be a bit less science heavy than usual this week. I thought the questions quite as sciencey, but a really good breadth of knowledge there.
Yeah, I mean, I still have this suspicion, which nobody's ever validated, that they do slightly skew. If it's two humanities institutions, they kind of go light on the science. I guess they don't want that many questions just going dead as people sit there, as I did on Saturday at the OQL buzzer quiz. Whenever there was something scientific, it was like, okay, push the buzzer away, sit back, let somebody else go for it. That doesn't make for great telly, so probably not so bad that they went soft on that side of things. So before we then come back and chat about Champagne Moment, let's run through the nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week. Here are this week's nominees for Quizzer of the Week. Vincent Bright for 7 out of 8 in Quiz League London Division 2. Patrick Buckingham, also 7 out of 8 in Quiz League London Division 2. Joe Crowther for a full house in the John Jacob Cup. Jonathan Gibson for the top points per game at the OQL Buzzer Quiz. Victoria Gross for an OQL USA full house. Tonight's Mastermind winner. Ben McIntyre for 14 out of 15 in Pop Solos. Dylan Minerick for 13 out of 15 and 22 points in the International Culture Challenge. Matt Parkinson for a perfect game in the Chase Australia. Jason Stalacci for a OQL USA full house. And Sarah Trevarthen, the Brain of Britain 2022. And nominees for Team of the Week are all the Larry King's men for their win over the Crass Menagerie in Online Quiz League USA. It'd be Dim Jules for a 33-point swing in the John Jacob Cup. Motley Crue for winning the Asian Quiz League. Only Connect winners from tonight. Quentin Quarantino, the Quiz Nation's Asia Pacific champions. Tonight's University Challenge winners. And Quiz Bowl Cabal, who won the OQL Buzzer Quiz at the weekend. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/QW21nov, and voting is open until 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Friday. So we will add the correct names of the Mastermind winner, Only Connect winner, and University Challenge winner to the vote. But voting is open now, and the link is in the description below, and we'll put it on Twitter and Facebook as well. Just look at any last comments of come in. People are discussing University Challenge. I like Canova Anova. That's a good humanities science mix. Craven Raven, which sounds like a character in some sort of TV show as well, but that was good. Jamie, I learned that pale blue dot was 3 words. That was quite an interesting discussion when I had to literally count them, but under pressure in the studio. It's just one of these things. And Pam says she wasn't heckling earlier, just asking nice. No, I know, Pam. I'm just teasing. And Steve's saying about 2 teams who both both deserve to be seen again. I think that goes for Only Connect and for University Challenge. So that was a good week's shows. Now, champagne moment. Sarah, what was your champagne moment of today's quizzing?
I think you can probably guess that one. Yes, it was. Even though it's from 3 weeks ago, it was really nice to be able to actually finally share it with people. It's been lovely. I've had so many messages of congratulations. It's been a delight just chatting to people.
Yeah, and I understand that you are going to be on Radio 4 tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes, rather terrifyingly, I'm going to be on Woman's Hour in the morning. So yes,
Well,
so I think it's one about and things quiz generally. So yes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing that. So yeah, the least surprising nomination for champagne moment of the day from Sarah. Sangeetha, how about your champagne moment?
In general, from the quizzing tonight, I was going to say maybe the moment of when they got the wall and Only Connected was quite satisfying, that wall won. But also, I have to say, I think coming back to what seeing it in person as well, Alison really was just very, very impressive tonight in Mastermind. And it was great to watch it again because it was all a bit of a blur. So from watching it, that was definitely it. But also, I would say it's been lovely being back on the quiz scene. So for me, that's also just been lovely on a personal note.
It's been lovely to see you on TV and see you on this show again, and to have Sarah back as well. It's brilliant. When we have familiar, friendly faces back on, it's absolutely lovely. So that has been good. My champagne moment, it has to be Sarah winning, I think. And close your ears if you haven't heard it, because I'm about to give a spoiler. But the fact that to win it, you needed to get all 5 and that bonus point. Because I don't think there was any way, when it got to your questions, there was any way of tying it, was there? Because 5 would have...
No, there wouldn't have been, no.
So you had to do the very hardest thing that there is to do on Brain of Britain. Get all 5, get the bonus point. And it was just one of those. And again, you said it was, there were educated guesses. There were some tough questions in there, and it wasn't a gimme, and that was the thing. It wasn't. They didn't throw you soft questions or anything like that. You got them the hard way, and for me, when it's difficult when it's 4 people, to kind of, it's mixed emotions, but it was just a brilliant final and a brilliant ending to a brilliant final. So that has to be my champagne moment. So congratulations, Sarah. For both of you, we look forward to seeing what comes next in quizzing. Sarah, you've got another show in the can, apparently. Sangeetha, you're going to be occupied for a little bit of time.
You might catch me on another quiz show as well. I'm also not sure when it's airing. But
you've done another one as well. Okay, again. Well, let us know. I hope it's Millionaire. But no, let us know when you're on. We'd love to know about that and share it. So that is it for Quizzy Monday. I promised that it would be a short and lean and disciplined one, and Valerie is shaking her head at me. So I didn't quite manage that. But hopefully you have enjoyed the 50 or so minutes we've had chatting to Sarah and Sangeetha. Really enjoyed having them as guests. Thanks to everybody who's been watching and has been chatting away in the chat. It's lovely to have you back. It's great to be back on Mondays. We're going to be back next week, as usual, where I'll endeavour to be even leaner. I'm going to go on the kind of Atkins of quiz live streams and see if I can slim it down a little bit more. I'm not sure that's a really good comparison. Anyway, it's not. Okay, maybe the 5-2. Anyway, whatever. I'll find some tortured analogy. So we will be back. Have a brilliant week quizzing. Don't forget to vote for What is the Question at tinyurl.com/WITQ jungle. Don't forget to vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW21nov. And those links are in the description below. Join us every day for lunchtime quiz time, and join in What is the Question if you want to. Until next time we meet again, have a brilliant week. And Sangeetha, fingers crossed for later this week, that all goes very, very smoothly. We're looking forward to hearing some joyous news coming from your direction.
Thanks.
So thank you both, and see everybody very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.